Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. There's been these reports that have hatched up and come out recently, and I'm sure you guys have all seen them, regarding Meghan Markle believing that the royal courtiers were against her and they was trying to destroy her in an insidious way, that there was a colluded effort to drive her out of the royal fold and drive her out of the royal family and bring her down and destroy her reputation. I find this really extremely far-fetched, and I'm really going to struggle to stay on topic with this one because there's so many dynamics as to why Meghan Markle's image in the public eye has been destroyed, has been sabotaged. Now, she seems to be moving into the discard phase, and she seems to be moving into the phase of blaming everyone else but herself and directly attacking the royal family. So this is more evidence. This is one of the most direct reports that I've personally seen during the duration of covering this couple, this pair, Meghan and Harry, that she is actually directly now talking about insiders to the royal family and them actually being against her. In my personal opinion, this is bordering paranoia and delusion, and we are now seeing that she's coming across as a very unstable character, especially with these reports coming out. I would personally be on my guard if I was Meghan with what I was saying right now. I would not have stories like this leak into the media. I think this can only do more damage and more harm than good. The reality of it is her relationship in the public eye has been damaged, firstly when she didn't make an effort to ensure that her father was okay. She didn't make an effort to ensure that any other family members' biological direct links to her were at the wedding besides Doria. She was more than content and happy with having Doria sit at the royal wedding, witness her daughter get married on her own. It was very weird. We know that when William and Kate got married, the whole family was there. Pippa was there carrying the dress. Everyone went on about Pippa's figure and how gorgeous she looked along with Kate. It was a real beautiful family day, and it was a normal display of affection that you expect to see at any wedding, pretty much. Father, mother, siblings, if you have them, extended cousins, etc., and the list goes on. Meghan didn't have that, so that immediately put up the red flags for everyone watching globally. Why isn't her father there? Why isn't her sister there? Why aren't all these people there? And then on top of that, we had Samantha Markle, who was continually trying to warn the British taxpayer of what they was actually about to witness. And she came under fire, especially by Piers Morgan. He was famed for insulting and humiliating Samantha Markle. He was ripping her from limb to limb every time she was trying to express the fact that Meghan hadn't made an attempt to talk to their father, who we now have found out funded Meghan's entire education, facilitated her acting and showbiz career, got her started, took her on when Doria was locked up. This has all now subsequently come out, and he was villainized for speaking out regarding not feeling supported or adequately protected by Meghan and Harry during the duration to the run-up to the wedding. So now she flips it, and it seems very characteristic of someone who wants to deflect off themselves and wants to assassinate people's characters, and this essentially is what Meghan does. She's assassinated her father's character with that handwritten letter that subsequently got leaked to the media, and now Harry is assassinating the British media's character, effectively saying that they had a malicious plan to bring him down. They have been racist towards Meghan, and there's character assassination all around with this pair, and now they are attacking the royal courtiers. No. I think this is a bad move, and it's only going to end in an extremely ugly way. The article says here, Meghan Markle believed royal courtiers hatched a conspiracy to shame her. Meghan Markle believed there was a conspiracy hatched against her by royals once she moved into Kensington Palace during her courtship with Harry. And we know there was this whole kerfuffle of them not wanting to be on the grounds of Kensington Palace, wanting to have Frogmore Cottage as far away from the central part where William and Kate are happily living. They didn't want an apartment there, so they had other alternatives, and there was this constant appeasement by the Queen to try and make them happy, to try and facilitate them. Always along the way you see the Queen extending an olive branch to try and make this courtship work, try and make this marriage work, and trying to keep her family together, and it was never enough. And now she comes under fire again, being slagged off by Meghan, coming out of these reports, which is rather damaging. It's very divisive and it's very spiteful and it's very cruel. That's what I'm going to say. So it says here, Meghan began to fear the palace courtiers were out to harm her reputation due to her American style or management once the couple moved into Frogmore. We did see that the royal courtiers were quitting, and people who were of service to the couple, especially after Meghan came on the scene, were quitting. Now, I don't exactly know what she means by American style. Was it talking down to people? Was it shouting at people? Was it chucking clothes at them if they got it wrong? Was it chastising people and talking to them like they are beneath you? Was that what it was that they didn't like? Was that what you was doing, Megxie? Because why was so many people quitting? We know that if you work for the royal household, you have a good living wage. And these people who had served the royal family for years suddenly wanted out. They suddenly wanted out. Now, she puts it down to this American style, but I think that more than likely it was maybe her being coming across as very disrespectful and condescending. No one likes that. No one likes that at all. They was probably sharing amongst themselves how she had spoken to them, in shock, probably in disbelief, as we all are. The British taxpayer is in shock that this woman has turned around and called us racist after we paid £32 million for her elaborate wedding, paid for her elaborate lifestyle that she could ill afford. She wasn't even worth a quarter of £32 million when she got married to Harry. She wasn't. That's just the fact. She was only worth £3.7 million at most. And we know that they obviously get your value, your net worth. Celebrity net worths are constantly overestimated and underestimated. They're never accurate facts. I don't believe that she was worth as much as what they estimate her to be worth. I think somewhere near there. I think she was definitely a millionaire, but I don't think that it was as much as 3.8 million. So it carries on to say here, she was convinced that there was a conspiracy against her, and so she basically put herself in isolation when they moved to Frogmore. A friend told the Sunday Times, "I think she felt like an outsider from the start. This wasn't the life she was used to, and she wanted out. She also began to feel isolated and missed her mum and friends in LA." One friend told the Sunday Times that Meghan's financial independence was a driving force behind her and Harry's decision to leave the royals and the UK for sunny California. One of the things Meghan struggled with was not earning an income. She has always worked, and I think she felt unfulfilled. Having financial freedom was a big part of them wanting to leave. I think that Meghan didn't have a problem with spending the British taxpayers' money as much as she spent. She just didn't realise that there was going to be a cap on it. She thought, woohoo, I've scored a prince, I'm going to spend as much money as I can, and it just didn't work that way. It didn't work out the way she wanted. Then we have had these reports of Harry speaking to his family, speaking to the Queen, speaking to Charles, trying to maneuver and massage them into giving them what they wanted. So he obviously went and begged his family for this elaborate renovation to Frogmore Cottage because it just simply was not good enough. Nothing's good enough, it seems, for Meghan. The ring that he gave her wasn't good enough. Frogmore Cottage wasn't good enough, as is she had to spend £2.4 million. Kensington Palace apartments, that wasn't good enough, so they had to have Frogmore Cottage. Then that wasn't good enough. Now being in the UK, nothing's good enough. Nothing is good enough. And this is the issue that I take with this woman. It's never good enough. And not only is it not good enough for her, she has to insult people because she finds fault with them. And I can imagine being around someone like that or working for someone like that would probably be my worst nightmare, and yours too. If someone like that is always finding fault with things, Nothing is enough. Even if millions and millions of pounds have been spent, and she's spent more money than she's ever, her entire net worth, and it's not good enough. That is not a nice character to have. So it carries on to say, they're going to be very wary about opening up their social circle too much, as fraternizing with the wrong people has the potential to be hugely damaging to their image and plans. Their image is already damaged, their plans not so much damaged, because anywhere where there's a media circus and you are in the limelight, people are going to be interested in you. Whether it's genuine or not, you're going to find people flocking to you. They are opening up their circle. They had randoms that is a contradiction itself. They had random A-listers who they didn't know at their wedding. They actually gave them more importance. We know that Harry prioritised Oprah Winfrey and George Clooney at his wedding reception over his best friend Skippy, who he met at Eton. They prioritised all these random people who have something that they can exploit, which is their connections, their power, their prestige. I don't think that will be an issue for them. So it carries on to say, they returned to deal with the fallout, leaving son Archie in North America before returning after Harry had worked out the logistics with the Queen and the rest of the family. They moved to LA before lockdown, with reports that this is where they plan to live permanently. I find that highly unbelievable. I think the living situation they've got there it's not going to last very long. They're going to move again. So I'm just going to finish up with a couple of comments. So someone said, Conspiracy, no, they just saw you for what you are, a toxic narcissist. So this was a comment left on the Daily Mail. I think it speaks for itself. Someone else has said, what is the truth? Did she plan to go to LA from the start, or did she not think royal work and helping people was right for her? Or both? Because it sounds like she didn't give it a chance intentionally. The Queen offered for them to marry and stay in LA. Why didn't she take the Queen up on that offer? It would have been a quiet life, under the radar, like the Cambridges had. But Markle wouldn't have gotten her beloved title. Meg, trying to play victim is like one of the Cinderella stepsisters trying to play the victim, given everything but wanting the main prize and all the glory. I agree with this person. This is really what's going on. This is this dynamic of, they was offered a quiet life just without the titles and most of it. She goes ahead, has this £32 million wedding, spends as much money as she can, gets the title, centre stage, tries to leave the royal fold by keeping the stage and retaining themselves as active working members of the royal family, which they didn't do any work, let's face it. And then she bolts. It's all hypocrisy written all over it, isn't it, guys? Carries on, another person said, well, technically, she is an outsider. And that's exactly what I think. She was an outsider. She was American. She was different. She did not have the breeding, so to speak. She wasn't your atypical British princess. So, yes, she was an outsider. They would have been acknowledging the differences. They would have been coming to terms with differences. But she was the one who was meant to be trying to close that gap and learning his customs and traditions and practices, which she didn't. She really hasn't tried at all. So they carry on to say, however, she could have done things differently from the start and people would have liked her. She chose to be a divider and try to change things in another country, in the firm that she knew nothing about. I don't feel sorry for her one bit. Neither do I. They've written here, I do feel bad for little Archie not growing up around cousins, aunts and uncles and grandpa. They couldn't have said it more perfectly. That was perfect for them to say that, really. And it's true. I feel sorry for Archie. He is the true victim in this. So anyway, guys, I'm going to conclude this and I'll be back for another video. Bye, guys.